Good morning, EDU 528. This is my first video, so if you can bear with me, I'm going to try to communicate some things that I think are best said verbally for our class, just to convey some information about material that is available on D2L and then also your upcoming assignments. So just first of all, if you'll notice, I have uploaded our social identities map and the community guidelines document. So if you'll remember, I shared with you some guidelines that I think that we could use to have our discussion about social identities, and then after we engaged in the activity in class. So you'll see the map sort of replicates how folks identified across the room, and so it's a visual map. And you can use both of those, both the map or the community guidelines together or separately in your own educational spaces, whether it be your classroom or those of you who are in counseling, in the counseling field. So I think it has some value, not just for our class and our community, but for the communities in which you work individually. You'll also notice that I've uploaded the revised case study sign-up sheet and discussion leader sign-up sheet. So we still have 2 slots available for discussion leaders and then several options for case studies. So please be sure to review those and sign up for a case study that has the most openings available, and then discussion leader if you're one of the people that has not signed up yet. Relative to the discussion leader, I also uploaded in our second session, which is basically today, some stems that can help you develop your questions for the group. So these are some sample question stems based on Bloom's taxonomy. And Bloom's taxonomy is, for those of you who are not familiar, is a set of guidelines for engaging students in thinking through questioning techniques that sort of bring us from at the bottom of the pyramid or the bottom of the hierarchy, from recalling information all the way up to critical thinking and application. So I want you to pay attention as you develop your questions as discussion leaders to the second page of that document, where there are questions for question stems for analyzing, for evaluating, and for creating. And you can draw from those categories to design your questions based on the reading that you're assigned for that week. And if you have questions about your questions, please send them to me. I'm happy to give you feedback early so that you might revise your questions with enough time for them to be posted for your classmates. You'll also notice that I uploaded the outline for Chapter 1 of Sleeter and Grant. So I believe it's about two and a half pages. So as promised, you have the outline the day after posting your all of the responses to the discussion board. In addition, the PowerPoint from last week's class is also in our session 1. So if there's any information that you need to review or any information that you missed, you can access the notes from last week's class in D2L. So I want to also talk a little bit about your discussion board posts. So just to sort of back up and talk about that and give you some feedback. I really appreciated the thoughtfulness and the clarity of these posts. I think that you all as a whole cogently drew from your personal experience and the course readings from Sleeter and Grant, to consider the questions that I asked, and then also apply this learning to the final question, which asked you to sort of imagine, create, design. So everyone who posted was awarded full credit, and that's generally how things will go. This is a complete or incomplete assignment. So just my suggestion is, keep doing what you're doing in terms of your discussion board posts. At the same time, I want to draw everyone's attention to thinking about, kind of going back to this idea of our community guidelines, and thinking about how we consider, evaluate, and are making sense of material that may be new, that may conflict with your existing understandings, or align with your existing understandings, and then sort of challenge you to deepen your thinking. So I also posted a chapter from a book called Is Everyone Really Equal? And that chapter is called Yeah, But Common Rebuttals. And here there are some examples of ways that when sort of engaging in social justice material, that folks often employ these rebuttals or these arguments to sometimes dismiss or generalize the material that they've read. So this is feedback for all of the class. This is ongoing work that we're all engaged in. But I think it's valuable to consider some of these rebuttals that emerged in some of the threads. And so a couple of examples that are in this chapter, and again, this is like a really quick chapter, so this, you can sort of breeze through this, are claims that schools are neutral spaces, or citing exceptions to the rule. And if you remember, Sleeter and Grant sort of set their chapter up talking about exceptions, and appealing to universalized humanity. So sort of this argument, we're all equal, so why should we be focusing on our differences? So as you create your next threads, your next posts that are due next week, I want you all to consider that and begin to incorporate as needed some of these ideas into your thinking, to just further extend your thinking. So just on that note, your new prompt, will be posted on Saturday morning. And I want to thank Allison and Angela for being the discussion leaders for this past week. You all did a great job and took the lead in a short turnaround, so shout outs to you all. Okay, so the sort of the last thing that I'll share with you all is a little bit of information. I know you've asked me for a bit more information about additional multicultural events that you might want to attend. So there are three. There's a document called Additional Multicultural Events that you can review, and I'll just share with you. There is an exhibit called Native Americans, A Diverse and Evolving History, and that is at the Lehigh Valley Heritage Center. And the exhibit is open Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it is free to Lehigh County Historical Society and Lehigh Valley Heritage Museum members, and $8 for non-members. You can go to the website, which is listed on that document, and just double check for their times, and even check if there's a reduced charge for students with ID. And but this exhibit is focuses on the lives of Native Americans who lived in Pennsylvania for more than 10,000 years, and it features artifacts and it examines the archaeology and what archaeology can tell us about the Native Americans of Eastern Pennsylvania. Secondly, there's a performance called Runaways, and this is at Cedar Crest College. It is running on 9/28, 9/29, 9/30, and 10/1. The ticket prices are from $10 to $25. You can go to the website that's listed on the document to verify times for the performances and also the cost, because maybe there is also a reduced cost for students with ID. But Runaways is a collection of songs, dances, and spoken word pieces performed by children who have run away from their homes. And this was initially created from interviews with homeless children and those in orphanages, excuse me. So the show blends musical styles from pop to hip hop, jazz to reggae, and sort of questions this idea of childhood. So we know that homeless children are sort of fall into this intersectional identity of both age, right, being youth, and socioeconomic class. So that is another multicultural event performance that you might attend. Finally, there's another exhibit called Faces of Reading Plus 10, and that's at Albright College, and that's running until October 13th, and it is free to the public. You can go to the website that's listed on the document in D2L to double check the times that the exhibit is open, or to contact the gallery. But Faces of Reading at 10 was created by Professor John Pankratz, Professor of History at Albright, and in collaboration with one of his students, Angela Kreml. And it is a portrait, an analysis, and a celebration of a diverse and evolving city. So it includes 900 faces that represent Reading residents from all backgrounds. I think this is a great opportunity to sort of see diversity in a particular area. And all of the events offer you some additional options for attending to this assignment that I think will be robust. So on that note, I'll just share with you that finally that as promised, the assignment, the multicultural event analysis criteria assignment, is posted also on D2L. And I thought that I would just sort of read aloud a bit of this assignment so that I can make sure that I'm conveying clearly what the assignment entails. And so I'll just share some parts that I think are relevant. So in the assignment, you're going to obviously attend or participate in a multicultural event or performance and analyze how that event has strengthened your understandings of diversity. So I provided some guidelines in the document, but sort of your first steps will be to describe the event in rich detail, and consider the space, the people that are present, and your participation, yourself in that space and among those people. And really, again, engage in thoughtful, rich description of what you see as you enter the space, and then your involvement in the space. The second part of this piece is to engage in a critical self-analysis that draws upon the course material to examine your new understandings of diversity and possible applications of this knowledge. And let me just back up and say that when you examine your role, you're going to be thinking about obviously what you saw, what you heard, your expectations prior to the experience, if you were an observer or a participant, or if you were both, how did you engage in the event or the performance? You'll describe about aspects that stood out to you, um, and what you learned from the experience. So in the second part of the assignment, you'll put together the experience and what you learned and your understandings of course material thus far, to consider the pedagogical implications from your participation or attendance. So what I'm asking you to do is to sort of respond to the question, how has your learning thus far informed your understanding of student diversity? So you'll you'll approach those questions, and to interrogate what you've learned and how that aligns with what you've read about in the course. And then I want you to imagine and interrogate how you can apply this knowledge to your role as an educator. And this is your current role or your future role in the field of education. So you'll be asked to describe either a behavior, right, an action, a curricular activity, or a teaching strategy that you will engage in that meets the needs of diverse students, reduces prejudice, and promotes inclusion and respect for diversity in the classroom. So I want you to synthesize, right? So that's what we get to sort of at the top of Bloom's taxonomy, is to synthesize, what we know, new learning, and how we might apply this learning relative to our context as educators. So that is the multicultural event assignment. And if you have questions, I encourage you to use the questions for instructor, questions about assignments, question about logistics, function on D2L for the benefit of the entire community. And I'm happy to clarify and any ideas that you have, for the good of the group. So final notes, just some reminders that your case study sign up, and then your next discussion board thread on the upcoming reading will be posted soon on Saturday morning at the latest. So look for that. And on that note, I think we've covered sort of everything to date. And if you have questions, again, feel free to use D2L. And if you have questions that are one-on-one, please contact me via email. Thank you.